Hi, Jenny here, and in this video I will be discussing how English titles of books have been translated to Finnish and how they then translate back to English. So a little bit about me. My native language is Finnish. I have a degree in English, and just a note about Finnish language. We do not have articles. We don't use articles in Finnish. So when I'm translating titles back to English, I've taken the liberty to kind of choose when to use what articles. Okay, I hope you enjoy this video. First, I'm going to show examples of books where the title has been directly translated the same, so it would translate back as same as the original English title was. Then I will show examples of book titles that have been changed slightly, and I'll discuss the nuance differences between those titles. And then I want to specifically look into the Chronicles of Narnia and the Hunger Games series, because I feel like there are interesting nuances there in some of the book title translations, and also because I loved those books as a teenager. Alright, few examples about books that remained the same after translation. So here is Markus Zusak's The Book Thief in Finnish, which is Kirjavaras, and it translates exactly back to the book Thief. Next up I have a classic as an example, so Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. In Finnish it's Ylpeys ja ennakkoluulo, and it translates back to Pride and Prejudice. And then I have Khaled Hossein's A Thousand Splendid Suns, which is Tuhat loistavaa aurinkoa in Finnish. I feel like splendid isn't exactly the same as loistava, but it still has the same atmosphere. So hence choosing this as an example of a title that stayed the same. I don't think there's much to discuss with these titles. They are direct translations of those English titles and they work well. Alright, then let's discuss some book titles that were changed. I want to start with Jane Austen once again. And here is Mansfield Park by Jane Austen, which tells the story of Fanny Price, who has to move in with her aunt. In Finnish, that book is Kasvattitytön tarina, which translates back to the story of a foster girl. Instead of having a location as the title, the focus changes into the main character. So we kind of have a shift in focus. I wanted to add another classic here. So here is Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre. And in Finnish, it is Kotiopettajattaren romaani, which I have translated to The Novel of a Governess. Here, instead of having the title being Jane Eyre, the main character's name, it describes the position that Jane Eyre is in, and that emphasizes further that this is her story as a governess. And I think this change has been made because Jane Eyre, it's not a Finnish name, it's an English name, so having a book that's translated into Finnish but with an English title, although they exist, like Kitchen by Banana Yoshimoto and many books, but I feel like here having the description of Jane Eyre's position and profession in society really benefits in the title, because then you'll know what it's about, even if you don't know the name Jane Eyre. And I feel like if this had stayed as Jane Eyre, they might have come up with a Finnish version of the name, or tried to say Jane Eyre, which sounds awful. So I think the translation of The Novel of a Governess works really well. Okay, then on to more modern examples. I have another Khaled Hosseini book. So this is The Kite Runner, and in Finnish it's Leijapoika, which translates to The Kite Boy, which I think here the nuance difference is that, okay, from the title alone we instantly know that it's a story of a boy, as if you are not familiar with the concept of kite runners, you might not know much about, but I don't think it's too much of a nuanced difference here. Alright, then we have a very interesting translation of a title. So I have Jenny Golgan's Little Beach Street Bakery, which obviously describes a prominent location in the story. In Finnish, it's Majakan valoa ja tuoreen leivän tuoksu, which translates to the light of the lighthouse and the scent of a fresh bread. As you can clearly see in the Finnish translation, they have gone more for describing the atmosphere of the book and kind of using your senses. Okay, so the light of a lighthouse, so majakka is a lighthouse. So in English there's that repetition. So what do you see? A light. And the smell of a freshly baked bread, you get the, you know what it smells like. So I think it's very clever, but it's very different from the original, which is Little Beach Street Bakery, which describes a lovely, cute, cozy location. But I think, yeah, the goal of this was to have an atmospheric title. And I like Jenny Colgan's books, obviously. So when they started doing these translations a couple of years ago, I wasn't sure if this book was the same as this one because the title was so drastically different. But since it did have the atmosphere of the book, I then realized that it was the same book. But yes, I think that's a very drastic change in the title. All right, on the series. So let's start with The Hunger Games. The first one by Susan Collins is The Hunger Games, and then in Finnish it's Nälkäpeli, which translates to The Hunger Game. So a singular Hunger Game. It's more of like a concept of the Hunger Games instead of just one, but it's singular in this title. And I think it works because in Finnish it would have been called, if it was a direct translation, it would have been called Nälkäpelit. And I don't think it's as snappy as this is. And also, then this doesn't work as a singular, The Hunger Game. It feels like it ends somewhere. But I feel like both of them really bring out the fact that in this story, the Hunger Games are a constant concept in the characters' lives. Next up we have Catching Fire. I hate that my copy of Catching Fire is blue when it's fire. Okay. And in Finnish it's Vihanliekit, which translates back to the flames of fire. I love this translation because in the original one it implies that something is about to be lit, about to burn. While here you hear the agenda. Okay, the flames are coming and they are of anger. I love the translation, the flame of fires, but I think Catching Fire as a title is very iconic when it comes to the Hunger Games series. Then the last book, Mockingjay, is just a direct translation, Matkia Närhi Mockingjay, which is a fitting title, obviously. As for the prequels that you can see here, they are the direct translation. So The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and here it's Balladi laululinnuista ja käärmeistä. So it's a direct translation. Alright, then I was interested in the translations of the Narnia books, and I'm just gonna read them off and then talk about the nuances here. So I have categorized these into the titles that have changed, and then afterwards I will talk about the titles that didn't change. For Narnia, The Horse and His Boy is Hevonen ja poika, which translates back to the horse and the boy. So the title drops the word his from his boy, and it's just a boy. Interesting. The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe is in Finnish Velho ja leijona, which translates only to the witch and the lion. So in the Finnish version, wardrobe is dropped, and then it becomes more about the relation between the witch and the lion, rather than the whole concept of the story, which includes the wardrobe. And then The Voyage of the Dawn Treader In Finnish is Caspianin matka maailman ääriin, which translates to Caspian's journey to the end of the world. And yeah, it's a very interesting difference, because in the original title the focus is on the ship that they are taking the journey on, and in the Finnish translation the focus is on Prince Caspian. And then we have the last battle, which is in Finnish Narnian viimeinen taistelu, which is almost the same, the last battle of Narnia. So in this one the Finnish title specifies which story it is about. The books with the similar titles, Prince Caspian is Prinssi Caspian. Interestingly enough, the Caspian is written with a K, I think because K is more common in Finnish language than C. Magician's nephew is Taikurin sisarenpoika and translates back to the same. And the silver chair is hopeinen tuoli. Alright, I hope you really enjoyed this video. I did. This is the stuff that I did with my degree, translating between Finnish and English and back to English. So when I started thinking about book titles and like thinking about the differences in translation, I don't know, I found it very interesting. If you want to watch more videos about books and pop culture overall, I would suggest you subscribe to my channel, and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye!